Hi guys, Gabe Eltaeb here. I'm with my good friend Bill Frake, Disney, Blue Sky, Warner Brothers, animator to the stars, as I like to call him. About 50 years animating your childhood, and we're going to have another amazing conversation, not just about art and being professional artists, animators, illustrators, but about life too, marriage, business, children, all that good stuff. So, Bill, welcome back. You were just telling me something amazing right before the show. I sent you a care package of Big Man Comics. I think I sent you some t-shirts, my
Yes,
graphic
you did.
novels, and you were marveling at them, which humbles me, as someone who's much younger than you, not to rub it in. But when someone older and more accomplished than me compliments my work and thinks, validates my work to me, that's very humbling. I'm honored and very grateful that you would say that. And I was putting colors from the Unstoppable Tyrus, matching them with the lettering that I'd already done, because we're getting ready to print that in the new year. And the book is nearly complete, 25 pages left to color. And I was reading some of the dialogue I had written. I'd written this dialogue months ago, and I was like, wow, I'm good at this. I really like what I wrote here. And then what did you tell me about it? Because it feels funny to pat yourself on the back, but what were you saying about Bill Keane and all that?
Or Glenn Keane. Glenn.
Glenn Keane.
Bill's his dad.
Okay.
But Family Circus. But anyway, Glenn and the guys at the top really at Walt Disney Studios, people are shy to say criticize their work because it's so good. And
Right.
you get to a point where it's so lonely up there that you have to be almost more critical and of your own work. And most of the people, and Glenn even said that that every day, if you don't do a good job, you're going to get fired, right? So even at the top, you think, I'm going to get fired. I got to do something good, even though
Right.
you're beyond anybody else. If you don't self-criticize your work and think, I'm going to get in trouble if I don't do this right, you don't improve. And even no matter how good these guys were all the way through my career, they're always like, I've got to get better. And you find somebody better than you, and you're like, I'm no good. I got to keep going, man. There's no way I'll ever reach this kind of level of these other guys. And if you don't do that, you don't produce the work you really could have done in your lifetime.
Right. Right. It is really just like digging a ditch. Like there's an aspect to being amazing at anything in life. There's just the grunt work. It's the quiet hours, it's the late nights, it's the grinding when you don't want to, don't feel like it, maybe don't feel good, stressed out, have all kinds of chaos in your life, and you just stay there and you stick to it and stick to it. I had a breakthrough the other day. I'm drawing a cover for the Unstoppable Tyrus. And I drew this hair and it was ugly, and just I whipped it out and I erased it and redrew it, and I came back to it the next day. And you're going to understand this 3D, like the hair sprouting from one spot and spreading out and then joining back together. And it really became 3D in my mind. So much of drawing
Yeah.
is taking a 3D object and spinning it around. And when you get lazy, you just use the stamp pad,
Yep.
almond, like almond shaped eye. Like, no. It's a
Yep.
ball. It has an eyelid. You got to twist it in space. It changes perspective. And if you're getting sloppy, lazy, rushing, if you're letting that anxiety of getting to the goal instead of focusing on the process, you'll divert to the stamp pad. You'll revert to the stamp pad. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
And I was doing that on the hair, and it was so ugly. And when I broke through, it was gorgeous.
Yep.
It just came through. So it is this sticking to it. And you were saying about Bill Keane's son. It is a what have you done for me lately? And I think I am that way with myself too. It's like you're only as good as the last one you did.
Yep. Yeah.
So I'm always fighting to, like, my biggest competition is me. Like you said, you love Dean Cain, All American Lawman, and Imperium, the graphic novel. I'm wearing the shirt right here. Did I say
Yeah.
a shirt? I don't know. My wife packed a box for you, a bunch of stuff.
No, I got him. I should have worn one today, but I
Okay.
didn't want to compete with your shirt.
Okay. Well, next time.
I'll wear it.
All right. Printed in the USA, by the way. All my
Yeah.
stuff's printed in the USA.
Wow.
But I look at my stuff and it's like, oh, it's great. But it's like, no, I want to kick its butt on my next one. I want to be
Yep.
better and better and better and never stop. Never stop. I don't know that I'll ever be JC Linedecker. And when you say that to other artists, they'll probably scoff and roll their eyes because there's only one him. I don't care if I'm ever him or not. I just care that I try to become him as an artist because he showed it's possible. Now, so did Michael Jordan. There's only one Michael Jordan, right?
Right.
But that's what you do. You aim for it. And I think it was, I'm sorry, I'm talking a lot here, but who was it? I think it was Lou Holt. No. It's Lombardi, the Packers' old coach. He said, in the pursuit of perfection, you will attain excellence.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
so in
It's funny.
pursuit of Linedecker, I will be the greatest Gabe Eltaeb I can be.
Oh, well, it's funny. That J.C. Linedecker was used for Pocahontas for his style, and
You can see that right away in those
yeah,
colonial like dress, the way they are.
yeah. You look at a straight with an active side in the drawings or the layouts or whatever. You'll see a very very thin line on one side and dark on the other with an aggravated line that'll actually make it turn right. And
Right.
there's things that you look at the style, even in Hercules. You look at the style of the Greek vases. We went up to the Getty Museum and studied Greek art to basically um, to show that even on the vases they had an animated character. They had the Greek warrior moving in
Yeah.
almost in animation positions, which I mean that's like 2,000 years ago.
Right.
So it's funny, and like getting back to competition when the Space Jam is being done at Warner Brothers, Michael Jordan, they put up so he didn't want to get out of shape. They put up a basketball cart with a big plastic foam dome. So while he was in between shooting shots for the film, he was actually doing practice in the jump hoops,
Wow.
and he would literally call anybody, which I could have done it. Other people could have done it. Some people did it.
You were
Very
wait,
humbling.
you were at Warner's and worked on Michael Jordan's Looney Tunes movie. You worked on
That was
Space Jam.
done. Yeah, the Looney Tune thing was done right after Iron Giant, right? So
Oh
it was kind
wow.
of like a crossover. Now, what was crazy was Space Jam, when he was doing this stuff that was like, he said, anybody want to do one-on-one?
Did you have to take him up on it?
I
Even if
did. He didn't ask me personally, but there's some other guys that okay, play, and he go,
I
whoop,
would have done it. Now I
whoops,
know he would have
whoop,
just destroyed me, but then I could say I took Jordan on one-on-one.
well, I almost guarantee that he played with everybody, holding him down with his hand and gaming
Right,
them,
right,
and
right.
and it was just, what it was. Again, it was like our drawing abilities, right? You
Right.
don't get it by sitting around. You got to keep the muscle loose. You got to keep going, and it's a parallel of how sports figures really they're training all the time, right?
Of
Like you're at the
course.
gym, you got a gym in your house, and you're
I
working on
do.
it, right?
I do.
And that's because you got to have strong hands to do your artwork, right?
Yeah.
I'm always saying that the greatest strength I have is that little muscle right there,
Yeah.
right on
That
that
little
finger.
flexor in your index finger. Yeah.
Try to, it's like triceps and biceps, like,
Yeah. Yeah.
so it's
You're
things.
down at Venice Beach next to Arnold, just going like this. And the women are swooning by the hot dog on a stick shack.
Exactly. And it's so, even though we think we're in a unique industry, we are sports figures in many respects because we have to perform on command, right?
Yeah.
We got to have the best game going, right? And
Yeah.
how do you you got to look at the competition. You got to watch the plays that somebody did in the previous game. Like, okay, they're going to go left and go right. And when you do your drawings or even create something, you're in an industry that you have to have something that excites people. The emotion you got to have. They're not just playing basketball. They're actually literally entertaining at the same time,
Of course. Yeah. They're
and that's what
entertaining.
we're doing,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
I find that the the more natural you do it, and the more you use your talents and attributes or your history of how you learned how to do this stuff, you can now get into a very relaxed entertainment side, which reflects to the audience. The audience will see when you're relaxed and having a good time, because that makes them have a good time,
Yeah.
and
Yeah. That's
that's
true. Well,
and
that's the thing about just life in general. Forget
yeah,
art, but anything you're doing, any human relationship, you tell people how to treat you. You don't realize you do it unless you think about it, but you tell people what's okay, what your boundaries are, what's not okay by the way you treat yourself. If you show up sloppy, ripped up clothes, messed up, all this and that, you're telling everyone you don't have much worth because you don't even see worth in yourself.
right.
So then they see, oh, he doesn't have much worth. Don't treat him that way. If you show up properly, responsibly taking care of yourself, having healthy boundaries, healthy relationships, people will say, "Oh, he's important. He's respectable. I need to respect him." So that is really important, the way you show up and the way you communicate to people. I find that everything in life is just communication, whether it's
Yep.
verbal, nonverbal, subconscious, conscious, body language. It's all just persuasion and communication. The way we first think about ourselves and carry ourselves tells people what we are and how to treat us.
And if you mirror that in your work, like the comics or anything, you
Right.
have that character emulate that to the audience. You know,
Right.
they're talking back. You're looking at a flat page, and this character is emulating his entire story of where he's going, what he's thinking, all this, and you start to feel empathy for him. And
Yeah.
if it's no longer drawings, it's you're believing in this character, and that's the
Oh yeah.
tough part of making the drawings inanimate to animate in the sense that they can tell you the story, like you're following with this character, and they tell you their story.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
again, the writing is so important because
Yeah. There's an internal debate in comic books. I don't know if it goes into animation, but people will fight. What's more important, the art or the story? The art or the story? And I always think, fools, they're the same thing. Comic books,
yeah,
the story is told with the art.
right,
I think comic books, what make them comic books are the illustrations. Without the illustrations, they're just novels, right? So
yes,
yes, that's what makes them unique. But I don't think the art is more important than the story, or the story can more important than the art, because to me, they're one and the same.
yeah,
Being a cartoonist, being an illustrator is telling a story with pictures. You can't separate the two. You
yeah.
really can't. So I don't know. Well, how do you feel about that? Do you think you can
Well,
separate the two? Do you agree or no?
well, you know, one of the things when I read scripts, or even I go from a script to an illustration for film, and what it is a lot of times filmmakers will almost do what's in the words of the script. So
Right.
if a character will say, "Hey, I'm going outside," and you see a drawing of him going outside, you've just given two things the same space in time that you have to say, "I'm going outside," or not even show that, but have the character go outside and say something by the character while he's going outside that
Right.
advances the character.
Right. Well, yeah, okay. In comic books, I never do that. And I think that's why people love my writing so much. You
Yeah,
don't have a guy shooting his ray gun and go, I'm shooting you with my ray gun as the dialogue,
exactly.
because
Yeah.
that's tell, not show. You're supposed to show, not tell. So if he's
Yes,
shooting with the gun, he needs to say something to his friend like, we've got to get out of here. There's not much time. Like, you don't tell the
exactly.
reader exactly what they already saw. Do not do that ever. I never do
Right.
that. I make a point of never doing that. Here's
Well, a
another
picture.
thing. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say a picture is 1,000 words. That's Confucius, right?
Right.
And
Right.
basically, 1,000 words. Well, you don't add another 10 words to the
Yeah.
1,000, right?
Yeah, we don't need it.
You don't
And
need it.
and it dilutes it, it weakens it, it really does.
Yes, yes.
Here's a nifty writing trick, a scene trick that I learned, sort of naturally, but also from William Bernhardt. He's a New York Times best-selling, like, detective fiction author, and he has all these books, great books about writing. It's the Red Sneaker Writers, and it's, dialogue, plot, characterization. He has about 15 of them, and they're audiobooks. They're printed books, but I've listened to them while I was drawing comics for about 10, 12 years now. I listen to them over. They're about 3 hours long, and there's about 15 of them. I have them all. And he talked about starting a scene. He said, never start a scene at the beginning. Always start a scene in the middle. And I don't only start scenes in the middle, I start the dialogue of a new scene in the middle of a sentence. And there's a scientific, psychological reason for that. The reason you do that is when the reader has to fill in the rest with their abstract imagination emotionally, it's perfect. The imagination is perfect. So less is more. What I leave out, they will fill in with my clues, and it will feel perfect in their head emotionally. It can't be messed up. So if we just cut to me and you at the cafe, and I'll tell you, and that's why we got to file this legal brief, Bill. All of a sudden, they realize we're sitting here, we're having coffee, we're having croissants, we're talking about the legal brief. It's all real. It sells the persuasion so hard when you cut to the middle of a scene.
Yeah.
There's occasional when you have to start at the beginning of a scene just for the story purposes. But if I can avoid it, I always do. And if I can start mid-sentence, like with ellipsis, like dot, 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 I'll start that way. And it
Yeah.
thrills people. It's such a nifty little, I don't want to call it a trick because that cheapens it, but it's such a great thing to do for a scene.
Well, in a movie, okay, now you cut on the action. You don't cut immediately hooking up to the previous scene with the like a couple frames different than what happened in the previous scene. So you got to have a time difference that the thought of a person moves further, like 8 frames further in animation. That literally you're into the next panel, but you have a little bit of time that you have moved in, exactly what you're saying. And you watch film, and if it's done correctly, there's a you're moving ahead to the next shot. You're not cutting exactly at the same time.
Right. Right. Yeah, because I think cutting to the beginning of every scene is too much show or
It'll
too much
pop.
tell
It'll
and not
pop.
enough show.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
you're over explaining it. Like Shakespeare said, brevity is the soul of wit. And I think that's like in my writing, that's what I'm always trying to do. But yeah, I think for young writers out there, anyone watching this that wants to write, start your scenes in the middle.
Yep.
Just start. If the good guys are doing something and you cut to the bad guys talking about their plan against the good guys, start it near the end of the bad guys' talk in their secret lair. And they're arguing. He's all, well, that's why you're wrong. Just start with that at your sentence. And the reader's like, what do you mean? What's he wrong about? And then it kind of gets explained. And it seems so organic to start like mid-idea, mid-sentence like that.
Well, if
Because
you
the
have,
audience, they'll sell the rest of it in their head, the audience.
yeah. Well, if you have a film also, a lot of films might take place over 3 or 4 days, right?
Yeah.
You only got
Yeah.
64 minutes to
Yeah.
tell a film an hour. So how do you tell 3 days? And it's exactly what you study. How did they get to progress, like time continuum? How did you get progressing all this time and compressed it across the characters and advance the characters? That's the most interesting thing about a great film is it tells a story, and you're so far into it, you don't realize you have moved through all this time by I call it cartoon logic, right?
Right.
Yeah, and it's just a way of like, oh, you reach for a door handle and then you're driving in the car. Well,
Right.
you don't think about the whole opening the door, walk down the stairs, go in the garage, get in the car. You skip all that. So you can actually show a lot of work in a very short amount of time by doing
Right.
that.
Now, showing them put on their shoes like Mr. Rogers, like put on their socks, put on their shoes, tie their shoes, go downstairs, get in the garage, turn the key, open the garage door, back out. You could show all that for a character purpose of
Yes,
this is Mr. Meticulous. He brushes
right.
his teeth precisely. He combs his hair precisely, fixes one loose hair, cleans his glasses, buttons, button. And you could do a sequence like that, but it's not telling a story. That's characterization of
Yes,
look
right.
at this guy. He's like an IRS accountant weirdo, like Mr. Precise. That's when you would do that. But if you were telling every moment to just move the story forward, you're losing there. You're not, again,
Exactly.
that's tell, not show. You're supposed to show, not tell.
Yeah, and that's like the character you're just talking about, the Iris kind of guy, that the character that advances his character. It always tells you something about a character that you never knew. Every
Right,
scene should be something that
right,
advances a character.
right. And I believe this every word of dialogue that comes out of a character's mouth must have verisimilitude with their personality.
Yep.
They
Right.
cannot, I'm the mean whatever guy, and all of a sudden they're sweet as pie over here. Like they have to be consistent. And yes, it makes them an archetype or a stereotype, but that's important for the story because again, it's about abstraction, the simplifying of the idea, the streamlining the idea. The cleaner the ideas are, the easier I can get it from my brain to yours. Because that's the whole point of writing. I have an idea and it's clear. It's clear to me. The skill of art is can I get that idea out of my head and into yours cleanly? When I mess with the signal to noise ratio, too much telling, not enough showing, it's you're not going to get what I'm saying if I do that. So I got to clean it up and simplify it. And the art, the skill of being an artist is knowing what to choose. Because when I make a drawing, I could draw all the lines on the face. The face is 100% of area that I could put detail in. But the skill of being an artist is knowing what to pick. Less is more. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This line, but not this line. This shadow, but not this shadow. You can go crazy. That's why amateur artists, when they color stuff or they draw stuff, they just fill it in with scritchy, scratchy detail because they don't really know what to do. They don't know how to abstract and simplify.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because I'll go even deeper on that one, what you were just saying, that when you start on a piece of paper, the minute you put your pen onto the paper,
Uh-huh.
right, you have picked your focal point. You have picked where you want to look. You know
Ooh,
that you're going to draw on the head, you're going to draw the eyes. The rest of the stuff doesn't mean anything. And if you put that in there and you start to draw that almost the way you want to draw it, everything else should emulate from it. And then when you finish that drawing, you will and you as you emulate that stuff, you don't want anything to overpower what you started with. So basically, you're kind of slowly coming out with it. And then at the end, you always look where you want to look. But you don't draw like if you want to draw a head on a page, you're not drawing the feet, right? Your
right.
focal point, you have picked whether in what section of the panel you're moving on, you're actually drawing where you want to be in that, and then everything will point to that spot you are looking at.
Right. So let me ask you about drawing process because I still struggle with this. I asked my friend who's also a former Disney animator and all that, and he says he just has to fight it too. But when you're drawing, Bill, and you know the finished product, you could see it in your head, and you're feeling so impatient. You want it so bad that you rush. You get a little lazy, you get a little sloppy. You don't do your layout. You kind of fake a little anatomy, fake a little perspective. You kind of fudge it, and then you start working to more final, and it's suffering because you did not frame the house correctly. How do you
Yep.
fight that impulse? Because I know everyone has the impulse of, I know what I'm doing, and rush. And like, no, slow down. But how do you fight it? Do you have any techniques, any thoughts, any simple ideas to help yourself to
What I,
remember process?
what I do is I'll just hit lines, right? I'm not
Okay.
hitting any drawing. I'm hitting, if I want to do the head, it's a circle. Here's a shoulder, this person over here, one line. And then you can move the lines around because that's as fast as you can think. If you add anything detailed, it doesn't matter. It's the shape that is dictating where things
Right.
are moving. So what I'll do is I'll be asleep and I'll wake up and I have a pad next to the bed. And what I'll do is I may have a vision of something that I'm thinking, and I can wake up and draw 2 or 3 lines and basically gut it down because I see the picture. I'm just carving what I saw in that picture. And
Right.
once that's done, I have to write a note on it because it's so alpha state that basically what are these lines in the morning? I'd forget them, right? So I have to turn the light on, write down a word that will denote what that is. It was anger or happy or something, like staging or not even. It has to be so simple that when you look at it, it's like a children's drawing. When you look at it, it has the energy, and then you just put the details during the day.
Okay.
And a
Now,
lot
in
of times you just carve when you're doing your drawings, if you just drew a couple lines to see where things are, and then you see the vision, but you're just carving in, oh, it doesn't work. Then you move it over here. Let me do a couple lines. And before you know it, you've saved all that drawing time and energy by moving those little shapes around. And then
okay.
when you're done with it, then you start doing the head and the design and all that. And what it does is your drawing energy can expire. So you're starting fresh. Your energy hasn't been expelled by doing all these drawings.
Right, right. Yeah, that's the thing people don't know if they're learning to draw is they'll jump right into the detail. Ooh, because it's fun. That's where you show off
Yeah.
eyelashes, all this filigree, all this little. It's like you got to frame the house. You could paint the
Yeah.
house, put the crown molding, put the ornate light switch later. Right now, we're roughing in 2x4s, banging them in, with the 8-penny sinkers or whatever nails. So, and I do find that still a challenge to this day. And it was a challenge when I was a little kid to not want to rush to that beautiful end and then hold that finished product. I gotta, I like, hey, Gabe, slow down, take a break, go read a news article on your phone, like go to the kitchen, make a cup of coffee, slow down, So, but you kind of don't fight that much anymore. That
No, I
rush
mean,
while you're
well, I
working.
do the simple stuff. Now, one of the things I was a volunteer fireman for 20 years, and what I used, we went one day. It was like, okay, move that bus, build a house. We built a house in 4 days. Okay,
Wow.
so what that was is exactly what we do. You had the foundation was poured in like an hour, but they had all the trucks lined up. Okay, and they
All right.
dumped it out. Then it heated up, but then you dropped the floor. They already had half the floor laid in. So you laid the floor down and then the walls kind of came up. And this thing was just like, if you filmed it, it was like crazy. The curtain people came in, the people who were painting right after the curtains, the drywall came in. There was no time for like, let me call this guy who'll come in tomorrow and work on this stuff. They were all there with the pieces, just like when you do a comic. All those pieces are put together and they just come together really quick. And then when it's done, they roll the grass out and it's like, where did this house come from? Right? It's almost hilarious. And then they just say, move this bus, and everybody's cheering and helping people out. And you're looking, there was no house there 4 days ago.
Yeah.
And
It's
that's
so
what you're building in your comics and stuff. You're building this architecture. Now, when you build a house, I mean, there's situations where I was talk to people and getting houses built. And if you mismeasure 6 inches on your plans, and or when you're building it, you could lose an entire room because mathematically it kind of moves along and then you're
Oh
too
yeah,
short.
yeah,
So the idea of planning ahead, even in your comics, it's like, oh, I got everything done here, but oh shoot, now I don't have any space for my title, right?
right,
I'm gonna move
right.
this down, move this up here. So you gotta think far enough ahead and back up all the time.
Yeah, it's what I find because I feel a certain anxiety when I work sometimes, and I'll catch myself and stop it. This morning I was working on these about 20 pages of the Tyrus book. I got colors sent to me by people I hired to color it, and I had to edit it a little bit and then paste it into the letters and this and that. And I'm looking at the clock, and I got to get this done. And it's like, Gabe, you're not going to send this to the printer till like January. Calm down.
Yeah,
Why are you worried about finishing it in the next hour and a half? And I don't know what that is. That's probably deep childhood, whatever. But I just and here's what I've found to combat that kind of anxiety: gratitude. Quit saying I have to do this and saying I get to do this. I'm lucky. I work at home. I make art for a living. I'm making comic books like when I was 11 years old, drawing them and stapling them together. Only now I'm getting paid and they look amazing and people love them. So be grateful and quit like, oh, I have to do this. I have to do this. I have to do that. I do feel that in my personality sometimes, and I have to combat it because I really don't like it because it does make the art a little harder to do,
yeah,
because now you're fighting. I want it done and I want to do a good job, because I think I take a certain pride in I've never missed a deadline in my entire career ever. Since I've
yep,
been a professional for a quarter century, I've never missed one. There have been 2 or 3 projects I've worked on that have been late. It wasn't my fault. It was other people I was
yeah.
collaborating with. But
Well,
I have never blown a deadline. And is that as important as I make it out to be? I don't know. It's
oh, it
important to
is
me.
because after 50 years, I never missed a deadline. Right?
Wow.
You got a bunch of years ahead of you to keep not missing it. But I was saying, if you run a marathon or you sprint, there's two ways of looking at stuff. When you do your work, are you sprinting or you run a marathon? So, whenever I worked on a film, like even Iron Giant, you're training to do this film so you have enough sleep, you eat correctly, your every day is managed out as you're training even before you start the movie. You're researching, you're doing things, you're getting warming up, you're stretching, you're doing all this stuff. And when the race starts, you're not like, okay, got to get it done the first day. You're looking at the track ahead of you, and then you're
Yeah.
looking at where the marks are and where you have to hit and and you start to time out. I need to have this in a month. You don't think about that a week before. You think in a month I got to be at this mark, and then you start to move towards that. But there's multiple marks running at the same time,
Right.
so you're tracking all this stuff at the same time. So you're multitasking at the chess level, multi-chess level. And
Yeah.
what you're doing is you're getting you're when you hit one mark, you get so much energy that, oh, okay, great, you're better for the and your muscles are getting you because you've been trained, your muscles are strong for this race. You're not going to burn out at the end. And then a lot of times when you drop back, you hand the baton to another racer, right? That will
Yeah.
pick it up because you have reached your peak right at that time. Not that you're not good, but you're smart enough to I can't do it all. I need a team, right? And the team will follow you through. And when it's done, you say, we all finished this race together. And it was something that you become one mind, one person, one shape moving this track. And that's the thing that I find in every project, anything I've ever worked on. It's you have to you have to train you like you're an Olympic warrior. That if you I'm going to go out and have a party and just and you burn yourself out the night before, you're not going to be doing a good job. And
Right.
football players don't go out and party the night before a game. If they do, you're going to find the quality of their play
I,
down.
I remember like 15 years ago, I was with my buddies downtown San Diego. We were out late, and we walk out, we're going to the cars, and we see some of the San Diego Chargers at like 1:30, 2:30 in the morning.
Oh yeah,
And they got killed the next day in the
that's what
football.
it is.
Well,
You
not the
sh-
next day, about 8 hours later, they got killed.
oh yeah, right. And it's like you let your buddies down by having a party, right?
Right, right.
And it was like I don't know if it was a Saving Private Ryan, but the guy was sent back for ammo and he stopped to have a cup of coffee.
What are we doing?
Yeah, yeah, and it
I'll
was
say
kind of
this.
like, yeah, and it's like, you got people waiting for you. Don't like, I'm gonna grab a coffee. I'll be back. Only a couple of minutes. It's
Yeah,
seconds for someone else, right?
right.
So you take
Um,
it like you're gonna let your family down. I've got to be there at this time, and teach everybody else you've got to be there at this time.
yeah. So, yeah, one thing we've gone about a half hour.
Okay.
Amazing that we've gone that fast. One thing I want to say, Marcus Aurelius, the great Roman emperor, you could get his book Meditations. Those of you out there, if you haven't read it, just amazing advice. One of the things he says about intrinsic motivation, that's coming from within. How do I motivate myself? He said the best way to keep intrinsic motivation is to focus on the current step. If you were
Yep.
at the bottom of Mount Everest and you looked at the top, you would never climb it. But if you looked right in front of you and said, well, I could take a step forward, I could take another step forward, and you just kept doing that, you'll get to the top of Mount Everest. But if
Yep.
you're at the bottom and you look to the top and it's this ice and snow and you can't really see, there's clouds, it looks dangerous. Unfortunately, there's like dead climbers all over the mountain. You're like, forget it, I'm going home. But if you look at the rocks right in front of you, well, I could take a step forward 2 feet. That's nothing.
Yeah.
Just repeat that. That's life every day. Just take a step forward. That's it. Just focus on the current step. And I'm telling myself, believe me, this is advice to myself to not rush that anxiety of be grateful. I don't have to do this. I get to do this. And that's not Pollyanna nonsense. It's the truth.
Yeah. And
You know,
if you do a great job, everybody's happy. You're happy. Your family's happy. You're ecstatic about, I've done something that you've learned something this day, and you're so proud that you emulate that positivity, that other people feel it and they're like, why is this person so happy, so positive? What and it's like, and then when you have a bad day, it's like, oh, and then but then you're not, but I can do it. I keep moving. It's running that race.
right. Absolutely. Well, Bill, that's awesome. We've gone a half hour. We can't make these too long. People on YouTube don't want to watch really long stuff for whatever reason. But thank you. I'll give you a call probably later today. We'll keep recording these, keep sharing your knowledge, your experience. I want to ask you some real deep questions about some fun stuff for the audience, like getting into what movies you really loved working on. And if you would say, were there any that you hated working on? You might want to not say that, so I won't make you say that. But people want to know the good, the bad, the ugly, the beautiful. They want to know. You know what I mean? People love this stuff. It means so much to them, and you created so much of it. So thank you for joining me again, Bill. And I'm going to end the recording, but don't go anywhere. Okay, just don't go anywhere. Just all right, guys. Follow me online. It's Big Man Comics everywhere. It's Gabe Eltaeb. You see how to spell it down there. It's kind of a funny spelling. It's an Arabic last name. I will talk to you guys later. Bye bye.